Well, we're back. We did the video yesterday for the Druids sale or Druids. Somebody told me Druids. I guess that's probably correct. Any rate, today we're going to talk about the Roseberys sale. In one sale, they have several sales coming up. This is the interesting part. These are the part of the November series. It's going over on the England. I've been going through them, trying to figure out which sale I want to cover first after Druids. And it's this one, 1,000 Years of 100 Boys, the Feng Chun Ma collection. Now, the Feng Chun Ma collection was published in a book, I think, about a year ago, and it's about the imagery of the 100 Boys pattern, which goes back to the Tang dynasty. It's a very old idea. And the 100 Boys pattern symbols the desire of family to have lots of male heirs, lots of boys to grow up to be prosperous, to have big families themselves, to show fealty to their own families, to be good husbands, and so forth, and to encourage proper civilian behavior, citizenship, all kinds of things that they symbolize. And often they're depicted holding different objects in them. In the 100 Boys pattern, you'll find it in lots and lots of different objects, porcelains, bronzes, jades, snuff bottles, you name it. And this sale is a fascinating sale because everything in the sale is tied to that pattern, depicting young boys, depicting children. And it's really interesting, and the stuff is really quite beautiful. And the sale is going to take place on Tuesday, November 4th, over in the UK. And here it is, and they've done a great job with the catalog. The catalog is really wonderful, and it starts out with just, you have some single boys and recumbent children and this sort of thing, and then you get into larger pieces, jars and bowls and boxes, and like I said, snuff bottles. There's a number of good, really charming paintings in here I'm going to talk about a little bit, but these are just some of them. There's a lot of material here. I don't know, it's 100 and something lots of this stuff. It's absolutely great, and it's been very nicely curated by the collector, and Roseberys did a great job doing the catalog. The cataloging here is really, really good. Loads of pictures, lots of information, and the sale is a couple of weeks away, so you have time to get involved in it if you want to chase something. And I'm going to go over just some of the lots to give you an idea of what it is they've got and talk a little about them. All right, this one caught my eye right off the bat. I love this thing. It's a Chinese Longquan celadon incense burner with cover. It measures, and it's all unreserved, as far as I know. This is an unreserved auction. You have this figure, this example here. It measures. I got to figure out where the dimensions are here. Hold on a second. Okay, it measures 6. I couldn't find the dimensions; they're buried. Now I know where to look for them at the very end of the paragraph. 16 centimeters tall, so it's about roughly 6.5, 7 inches tall. But it's a really lovely example, beautifully glazed. The quality of this is really quite excellent. 15th, early 16th century, and there it is. And you have the boys holding up the incense burner, and the top of it is a wonderful sort of snarling food lion, and the smoke would come out of his mouth and so forth. And this very nice balustraded base running around it. The glaze is thick. It's very creamy. This really looks to be in fantastic condition, this particular piece. It's estimated at 10 to 15,000 pounds. There's a 4,000 pound opening bid, which is absolutely reasonable for this. This is a very fine piece, and there's no reserve on these things. According to the auction information that they provided here at the very beginning, I believe. It's in here somewhere. I remember seeing it. Oh, offered without reserve. Oh, it's in the title, of course. Okay, there we go. You have this, and then you have this, the Jiajing early Wan Li period jar. This is a wonderful thing. During the Wan Li period, the Jiajing period, the 100 Boys pattern was extremely popular. You may recall there were the famous Wan Li boxes. I did a video on a Wan Li box that we had some years ago. Well, here's one of a jar, beautifully done. Very classic in its style, and I can see why they couldn't really differentiate between late Jiajing and Wan Li, because the color tones and how they were done remained extremely consistent towards those time periods, between those time periods. And here you have a boy, he's riding a hobby horse. A lot of people don't realize that, but the hobby horse like this really came out of, as far as I know, came out of Chinese culture for children's playing and so forth. And you have some carrying banners and so forth, and Buddhist umbrellas. So all this great stuff going on. And it's beautifully potted. This jar measures about 9 inches tall. As I recall, I had seen it earlier, 25 centimeters, so about 10 inches tall. Very nice jar. 1,600-pound opening bid and a $4,000 to $6,000 estimate. That's a very viable price range. It could go for more because it's so attractive, but go in and hit this thing with bids. That's my view on a sale like this is where they don't have reserves. Just go through and as I've said many times, just leave a bid. Carpet bomb this auction with bids. And there's always a chance of something slipping through. As I mentioned, I did a video over on the Patreon side this week, earlier today actually, talking about the sort of the strategy of just leaving bids on unreserved auctions. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the Sotheby's had that sale. It wasn't Asian art, but it was English furniture from Hyde Park, and they had an unreserved sale. And they had some wonderful things in there. And I went back and looked at the prices the other day. A number of the lots in that sale, some very good things, went for way below the estimates, way below, because that's what happens in unreserved sale. They're nearly always, you can't say always because that's a blanket statement, but nearly always there are some great buys. And if you have 100 and something lots that you're selling, you're going to have a few great buys. So go through, pick out the things that you like the most and just leave bids on them. All right, now you have this very nice Chinese blue and white Wan Li period stem cup. Again, 100 boys pattern, not a big surprise, or a boys pattern. And here they are sitting around playing with a peach, circled, doing whatever they want. The peach is a symbol of longevity and so forth. And here they are, these young kids, probably maybe contemplating longevity or up to something, who knows. But the cup is nicely done. It's very finely done. And you don't see a lot of these stem cups from the Wan Li period. This is a pretty rare bird. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a Wan Li period stem cup? You see them before and you see them after, but not very often during the Wan Li period. All right, and this is an absolutely great looking example. The coloration is good. The condition looks good. And the estimate is 3,200 pound opening bid, 8,000 to 15,000 pound estimate. And that's because it's rare. That is because it's a rare form for this period, and it's very well done. The quality of the work is excellent. Always think about the quality. Quality matters a great deal, obviously. And then you have this Wucai Kawake Ming dishes Chanchi period, and these are often made for the Japanese market, as you know. And here you have a boy playing the flute, riding on his water buffalo, carrying what looks like a fish basket. Maybe he's just come from a day of fishing at the local creek. Any rate, there he is. And maybe the water buffaloes, look, I can't tell whether he's walking or laying down. It's kind of funny. But that's a basket that usually they put fish in and so forth. And here he is. And this is a nice plate. Very nicely done. You want to, of course, get a condition report and all that always. But the estimate on this set of the two plates is just it's a pretty big estimate, 1,000 to 3,000 pounds, because they're hard to estimate these days. But the opening bid is only 400 pounds, so go in and leave 1,500 on it. You might get it. You might get it for that price. And this is probably about a 5-inch or 6-inch plate, I assume. Most of them are. Did they put the size in? 15.5 centimeters, 6 inches in diameter. And then over to the 100 Boys bowl. This is a very nice Kangxi bowl. It's a molded bowl, very, very attractively done. I love the visual impact of the flowers around the bottom. Really set it off. Very, very nice. We've seen similar bowls fairly often, but with this floral pattern running around the bottom, I think it really makes it interesting. And it's got these lotus leaf tips running along the upper edge of the bowl, and it's paneled. You see these flat areas on here. This isn't a round bowl; it's a paneled bowl, so it's a fairly rare type, and it's nicely done, and it's good size. It's about 8 inches in diameter. Here's the interior, and it looks to be in very good condition. You can see the molded relief work from the interior a little bit here, but very, very nice looking bowl, and You know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't paneled. It's just the way they did it. It's an optical illusion. I was mistaken about that. I thought it had faceted sides to it. Now I'm looking at it from the bottom. It's not. It's rounded. But the way they did it, the way the artist, this is so clever. The way the artist did this. Let's go back to this for a second. The way they did this, it creates the illusion because the vertical lines taper in just enough that it seems proportional. So when you go from this area to that area, is it me or that does look like a flat panel? But when you flip it over, you realize it isn't. It's round. So this is a really neat bowl. I like this bowl. It's got a 400-pound opening bid and 1,000 to 1,500-pound estimate. I think if this bowl hasn't been restored, maybe it's got a lot of repairs to it or something. I don't know why the estimate's so low. This is an absolute steal for 1,500 pounds. I think if this bowl hasn't been restored and there's nothing wrong with it, it should do a lot better than 1,500 pounds. I suspect it'll bring 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 4,000 pounds. It's a heck of a nice bowl, and it's got a very unusual floral pattern at the bottom. And then over to this, the big jar. They always did these in the great big jars. This is a nice one. And let's see here. How tall is this thing? It is 31 centimeters, so it's a little over a foot tall, about 13 inches tall. It is Kangxi period, obviously. Very nicely done and very energetically painted. The boys pattern on this is quite excellent. They are it has a lot of dimensionality to it. They're crowded in nicely. There's one boy up here playing sort of the head guy at the desk. They're all taking their roles. They have some sort of theme thing they're doing here, and the kids are down here. And then you have sort of the local leader at the center of the table, and then his assistants and books on the tables and so forth, all assuming their roles in one form or another in the daily and in some sort of activity. And then you have these beautifully drawn clouds serpentining down through the upper part of the scene, and that's very typical of earlier. I always think of it as being more late 17th century Kangxi work than, or late 16th century Kangxi work than, late 17th century Kangxi work as opposed to early 18th century. When you see these patterns, you see the same pattern also on transitional vases. The same type of execution, but very nice cobalt ground, a little bit of fritting around the bottom that's very incidental to the piece. Nicely done Ruyi heads at the top, estimated at 5,000 to 8,000 pounds with a 2,000-pound opening bid. That's a very attractive example because it's so intensely decorated, very heavily decorated. And then you have this very nice Famille bowl with the lattice pattern all over it. It's dated to the early 18th century. It's got a little pink in it, but probably Yongshen period, I would assume, on this. And it's got this black. When I first saw this, I thought it has silver rim on it. It isn't. That's a black grisaille decoration, and then these sort of nicely, a little bit loosely drawn lattice pattern in green, which is quite attractive, I must say. And then the pink flowers and this imperial yellow, egg yolk yellow water buffalo, again, with a boy playing the flute, riding on the back of the water buffalo. This is quite an attractive bowl. And there's the interior. It looks like it's probably Yongshen period, judging by the color of the flower. I don't think Kangxi did have Famille Rose, but it wasn't. It was only in the last few years of the period. But this is a very attractive piece of porcelain, and it measures 18 centimeters in width, or about 7 inches wide. So it's a pretty good sized bowl. It's got a very reasonable estimate. It's not marked on the bottom. There's the base. It's got a very reasonable estimate of 700 to 1,500 pounds. This is a terrific looking piece of porcelain. It's very pretty. And then hopping along over to this, a pair of Kakiemon-style Kangxi dishes with the dragons, with the tigers on them. And it's interesting because Bonhams has one of these right now as well in the Cole collection that's coming up. It's an online sale. They have one of these in the sale, and they're fairly rare. And so I was really surprised to see two of these turn up here, but it is from a very specialized collection, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But there's another one at Bonhams, and you don't see them very often. They're not common, and I think it's sort of a treat to see three of them turn up on the market in the same week. in London. So you never really know what's going to happen over there. Oh, and they've got one of those disc hangers. I've never trusted these things. They're glue. They stick onto the back. Well, they didn't trust it either. They used tape to make sure this one didn't come apart. But at any rate, these are very, very pretty and quite unusual. The estimate is 1,500 to 3,000 pounds with a 600-pound opening bid. Just leave 1,500 on it right off the bat. And then the fine inscribed Famille Rose 3-star God stem cup. All right. With the children coming down, and there are the 3-star gods, and there's the kid reaching down for the peach she's being offered by show. Let's see. There's the inscription on the back. This is a pretty rare cup, beautifully done. What's the inside of it say? Feng Shui Mon collection. Oh, they bought it from Marchance. Okay, that's why it's such a good cup. At any rate, they apparently sold it to him. It's got a starting price of 7,000 pounds with an 18 to 25,000 pound estimate. This is a very, very rare cup. And it dates to the Yongchen period and measures 10 centimeters high. So it's 4 inches tall. So it's just a little gem of a cup. Absolutely beautiful. But the detail work is extraordinary. The detail work here is extraordinarily fine. Just beautiful. And then over to the next one, which is the single boy here. They just called it a rare and amusing child enamel figure of a boy. And how big is this thing? 21 inches. So about 8.5, 9 inches tall, 8.5, almost 9 inches tall. And this is sort of an unusual form. He's sort of flashing himself, making you laugh. He's he's exposing himself down there. And he thinks it's hilariously funny. And he's got great facial features, and he's wearing a pendant around his neck and enamels and all that stuff. This is sort of a hilarious piece of porcelain. And let's see here. It dates the Qianlong period. Yeah, I agree with that. They think about 1850. It has a 5,000 to 8,000 pound estimate and a 2,000 pound opening bid. This is a very rare type, though. Because of the subject matter of the kid flashing his himself, whoever's looking, something a little kid will do if you've ever had little kids, and it's sort of funny. And then over to this, the pair of Chinese export Famille Rose plates. This is a wonderful pair of plates, beautifully done. The colors are exceptional. How big? I just want to check and see how big they are. 22 centimeters. They're 8 inches in diameter each. And it's that pattern of the two boys sort of in the vines laying down. It's a pattern you see the opposing boys with these beautiful flowers around them. Qianlong period, early Qianlong period, though I suspect around 1750, but very finely colored and in beautiful condition. If you look at this carefully along the edges, along the blue enamels and so forth, and down through the middle, there's no wear. There's no wear. These plates are absolutely pristine. Just absolutely pristine all the way around. Very unusual subject matter, and it's a pair, which makes them highly desirable to collectors. 800 pound opening bid, 2,000 to 6,000 pound estimate, and they came from a Dutch private collection, and that's all they really know about them. But boy, what a wonderful looking pair of plates, beautiful. And then there's some jades, there's some other things in the sale like this. This caught my eye. I thought it was very lovely. You've seen jades, and you see imagery of kids and boys and stuff washing the elephant. Is a very famous image in China. And this isn't anybody. At first I thought it's the boys washing the elephant, and it's not. It's just one boy sitting on one. He's just sort of resting on it, and the elephant is a little bit tired. He's got his trunk curled underneath. And the two of them are just sort of taking a little, like an afternoon nap together. It's kind of cute. And the stone it's got some nice russet inclusions in it. It's decidedly a green, a bit of sort of nephrite, but very, very nicely done. Very nicely done. The eyes are very detailed. The fingers are nicely detailed. The elephant's head is very well detailed, and so forth. And you'll see there's some big jade, there's some big fissures in the stone. That's not damaged. Those are just fissures, natural fissures in the stone. And it's estimated at 3,000 to 4,000 pounds with a 1,200 pound opening bid. Very attractive, and it's pretty good size. It's not huge. It measures 8 centimeters long, so it's about 3.5 inches long, roughly. And then over to this, some Beijing enamels. This is an 18th century example. It is about 8.5 or so inches in diameter, 9 inches in diameter, or maybe that's closer to 10. But nicely detailed, nicely done. And here you have a couple of boys with their mom sitting on a very sort of luxurious interior scene, well-dressed, beautiful clothing, books and vases and so forth, blossoming flowers, implying that it's springtime or summer. And this very lovely decorated Beijing enamel. It looks to be in good condition. Yeah, it's in very good condition. There's the back of it. I don't see any. What I'm looking for is damage. Often these enamels, as a lot of you know, get very damaged, and they get the little dents in them, and the enamels flake off. It's a very, very common problem because they're enamel on copper, and copper is pretty flexible, and enamels are not flexible at all. So if the copper gets flexed, the victim of that flex in the metal is the enamel itself, and it pops off in flakes. It just chunks off of it. But what's very nice about the back of this is the quality of the decoration of this dragon in the middle. He's extremely elaborate and then surrounded by 4 chimeras. It's very, very attractive. 1,600-pound opening bid, 4,000 to 5,000 pound estimate, but extremely fine quality. It's 10 inches in diameter. It's 26.5 centimeters. That's 10 inches. All right. And over to this. Now, when I first saw this, I thought it was a gilt bronze. I thought it was a little gilt bronze of a boy, and it is not. It's carved wood, gilded wood, and it measures 10 inches tall, 25 centimeters tall. There it is. This is a wonderful example. It looks like it's probably Ming. I don't know I didn't even look to see what they dated it as, but it looks like a Ming boy to me. And nicely done, nice hands, nicely detailed hands pressed together. The face is very, very well detailed. The robes down here at the bottom flow off nicely as though they're being driven, like he's standing on outdoors with the wind blowing into him. And let's see how did they date it? They dated it as Ming too. Okay, all right, so I don't feel crazy. 400-pound opening bid, though, very reasonable, with a 1,000 to 3,000 pound estimate. This is, if you can pick this up for under 2,000 pounds, it's a great buy. This is a very, very nice thing, and it's a rare thing because these old Ming wooden figures, you don't see them very often because they're wood, and wood absorbs moisture, the lacquer falls off, things go wrong with wood. It's because it's very susceptible to the environment around it. Bronzes you see fairly often. But carved wood examples that are still lacquered and gilded are fairly unusual. They're pretty rare birds. And then over to this very nice. There's a number of snuff bottles in the sale. You have to go through them. But this is one that caught my eye. It's a very nice coral example, probably done during the late 18th century. Very nicely detailed. Here he is, and he looks like he's holding the citron hands of Buddha here, and he's grabbed a lotus stem with the other hand. And so forth, and this looks like it's probably is it Jade, or is it pink? Is tourmaline the pink one? There's another pink stone that looks like that, and then this green cap, and it could be Jade, it could be serpentine, it could be any number of things. But the snuff bottle itself is quite lovely. The estimate's 1,000 to 3,000 pounds. That seems to be their sort of catch-all estimate. With a 400-pound opening bid, it's absolutely worth 1,000 to 1,500 pounds. It's a wonderful, wonderful example. And then hopping along over to the textiles, there's also some textiles. And there's this one. This is a very early textile. This is a Ming Dynasty textile of boys riding on looks like they're riding goats on rams. Okay, Ming Dynasty, 15th to 16th century, acquired from Jacqueline Simcox Limited, London. She's a textile specialist dealer for many, many years. He bought it there over 20 years ago, and it measures 59 by 23 centimeters. So it measures roughly 2 feet in length and about 10 inches in width, 9 inches in width. But it's quite a lovely textile. There it is. And it's very reminiscent of some Persian textiles that you'll see on occasion, often in silk and metallic threads. I've owned them in the past. And when I first saw it, I was wondering if it wasn't a Persian one. And it isn't. It is Chinese. But they did very, very similar work on strips like this. And it's sort of it's a repeat pattern, beautifully done all the way down it. It's loomed. They loomed them this way. It is 1,300 pound opening bid to 3,500 to 7,000 pound estimate. But it's absolutely charming. That's a nice piece of fabric. If you like early textiles, this is a very good example. It's a really good example. And then this is a painting that's been attributed to Chen Mei, but they're not certain. So because it's not signed apparently, so they're saying attributed to, or there's a seal that looks like his. Could be by him. Anyway, he died in the mid 18th century. He was very active during the sort of the very last years of the Kangxi period, and then into the Yongzhen period. And this is an absolutely wonderful boy. It's called Sons in Harmony. And let's pull this up. It's a very charming scene. And this particular scene of the boys around here, there's a very famous painting that was done, I think, in the Song or early Han dynasty, of a similar scene of the boys around the basin. And some of you have seen it, I'm sure. And then you have another boy up here in the fish tank, in the lily pond, looking down inside, because this would have been filled with water with lotus pods floating in it, and then they sprout out. These wouldn't have been. I don't believe they would have been filled with dirt. They would have been filled with water, where they could grow the lily pads in them, and quite a thing to haul around. But beautiful, beautiful planter. Anyway, this is a lovely painting. It's a really lovely painting. It's got numerous seals on it and all that good stuff. I think the estimates the opening bid is only 2,000 pounds with a 5,000 to 15,000 pound estimate. But it's an elegant looking picture. I don't know if it's framed or not. Does it say? Silken is mounted and it's mounted as a hanging scroll dated to the 3rd year of the Qianlong reign. Okay, so they were able to date it with the collector's seal. 69 by 63 inches. This is a big painting. Good Lord. It is a little over 2.5 feet tall by 2 feet wide. So this is a pretty good sized picture. I would, if I were to buy this, I'd probably think about getting it under glass or something and getting it pinned and matted, framed up properly so you can enjoy it without doing any harm to it. This is a really nice painting. But anyway, that's just some of the stuff. I didn't go through all of them. I went through a handful of the lots. It's a very interesting sale, so do check it out. This is Roseberys on the 4th of November, coming up in a couple of weeks. Looks like a good sale. It's unreserved. So I suggest you check it out. If you really enjoy this stuff, this is a very interesting sale. And collections, it's funny, this seems to be the year, and I was thinking this last spring, that a lot of collections are going to be coming along because it's about time, and they are coming. And this is a nice collection, and there's several of them coming up in Bonhams, and I think some others will be floating around too. So take advantage of them when they turn up. When great collections turn up, jump on it because you wish you did later. You really will, I guarantee it. All right, have a great week. I'll be back tomorrow with a regular weekly video, and thanks for watching. All right, bye-bye.